Meron ka bang hawak na dolyar today? Yan ba ay isang currency na balak mong i-hold for the long time? Bago mo sagutin yan, Miranda, panoorin mo muna ang ating video kung saan tatalakayin natin kung ano nga ba ang value ng dollar over time. Miranda, ang depreciation ng isang currency sa context of a US dollar ay tumutukoy sa pagbaba or pag-decline ng value nito relative to other currency. For example, if $1 can be exchanged for $1 Canadian dollar, yung currency are described as being in parity or magkatulad. If the exchange moves at ang isang dolyar ay pwede mong ipalit ngayon sa 85 or 0.85 Canadian dollar, ibig sabihin nito ay nawala ang relative value of a US dollar to a Canadian dollar and has therefore depreciated against it. Maraming mga economic factors, Miranda, ang nagko-contribute sa pagbaba ng US dollar versus other currencies katulad ng monetary policy, rising prices or inflation, demand for currency, economic growth, and export prices. Monetary policy, Miranda, in the United States, ang Federal Reserve o yung country's central bank ay nag-i-implement ng mga polisiya to either increase or decrease interest rates. For example, kapag ibinaba ng Fed ang interest rates, nag-i-implement sila ng tinatawag natin quantitative easing, na sa madaling salita sila ay nagpe-purchase ng bonds sa market to hype the economy at sila ay nagpe-print ng pera to be able to drive the economic activity to go higher. However, ang implementasyon nito is actually weakening the dollar. It can actually lead to depreciation. Since you're printing US dollars and it's not backed by any tangible commodity like gold or silver, it can be created out of thin air. When more money is created, yung law of supply and demand will kick in and it will make the dollar less valuable. Also, investors can often seek out highest yielding investments katulad ng ibang currency at pwede na lang iwanan ang US dollar as a preference. With lower rates in the US, investors can transfer their money out of the US and into other countries that can offer higher interest rates. Kumbaga, mas preferred nila yung mga currency na mas malaki ang deposit interest rates at hindi ito magiging attractive kapag binaba ng Fed ang kanilang interest rates. Nga pala, Miranda, if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to click the like and subscribe so you're updated for everything about cryptocurrency, technical analysis, fundamentals, and these types of new knowledge for you in crypto. Maraming salamat. Ano naman ang role ng inflation sa pagbaba ng presyo ng dolyar? Inflation, Miranda, ay isang antas or pace of rising prices sa isang ekonomiya o bansa. Meron itong inverse or kabaliktarang relationship between the US inflation rate at ang US currency depreciation. In a matter of speaking, pag higher ang inflation, it depreciates the currency because inflation means that the cost of goods and services are rising. Yung mga goods then will be costing more for other nations to purchase. Pag mataas ang presyo ng bilihin, lilit ang demand. Conversely, imported goods become more attractive to consumers in the higher inflation country to purchase. Tandaan nyo ba nung nagkaroon ng krisis sa bigas, ang mga congressman ng Pilipinas ay nag-recommend to import rice para mas mapaliit ang presyo sa merkado. Ano naman ang epekto ng demand for currency sa pagbaba ng relative value nito? When a country's currency is in demand, for example, US currency dollar, the currency stays strong. One of the ways for a currency to remain in demand is if the country exports products that are needed by other countries at binabayad nito ang kanilang own currency. While the US does not export more than it imports, nakahanap sila ng paraan to create an artificially high global demand for US dollars. Ang US dollar is what known to be a reserve currency ngayon, Miranda. Ang reserve currency is used by nations across the world to purchase desired commodities such as oil and gold. When sellers of these commodities demand payment in the reserve currency, an artificial demand for that currency is created. Therefore, ginagawa niyang talagang malakas ang dolyar. However, in the US, there are fears that China growing interest in attaining reserve currency status for yuan will reduce the current need for US dollars. May mga concerns din surrounding the idea na yung mga oil-producing nations will no longer use or demand US dollars to use as a payment for their oil consumption. Yung mga ganitong pagkakataon will reduce the artificial demand for US dollars and will likely depreciate the dollar. Another factor, Miranda, is slowing growth and falling export prices. Strong economies, Miranda, tend to have strong currencies. Weak economies naman tend to have weak currencies. economies. Declining growth in corporate profits can cause investors to take their money elsewhere. So kapag bumaba or pumangat ang ekonomiya ng US, liliit ang value ng dolyar because other people will then start to invest on other currencies and other economies. Ito po ang dahilan kung bakit ayaw mag-declare ng recession ng United States. Ang falling export prices naman is when the prices for a key export product fall, currency can depreciate. For example, yung Canadian dollar known as a loonie when oil prices drop because oil is a major export product for Canada. Suma total, there are a complex number of factors that can contribute to a dollar depreciation, including political instability, either in a particular nation or sometimes sa mga neighboring countries nito. Yung investor behavior kasi would always prefer risk aversion or iiwasan nila ang mga risks. At yung mga weakening macroeconomic fundamentals. There's a complex relationship, Miranda, between all of these factors, so it can be difficult to cite a single factor that can drive currency depreciation longer term. For example, central bank policy is considered to be a significant driver of currency depreciation. If the US Reserve implements a low interest rates and a unique quantitative easing program, pwede mo nang i-expect that the value of the dollar can weaken significantly. However, kung ang mga ibang bansa naman can implement even more significant easing measures for investors than the US, then magkakaroon pa rin ng positive effect ito sa pagtaas ng value ng dolyar because the other neighboring economies have done the same. Accordingly, the various factors that can drive currency depreciation must be taken into consideration, Miranda, relative to all other factors. These challenges can present formidable obstacles para sa mga investors na gustong mag-speculate sa currency market. At nakita natin ito nung nagkaroon ng Swiss franc currency collapse noong 2015 as a result of the nation's central bank making a surprise move to weaken the currency. Bottom line, marami pa ring factors talaga that can influence the currency value. Over the time, the US has actually implemented a lot of monetary easing, particularly on the following years. Noong 1970, the gold standard has been abandoned and currencies are no longer linked to gold. Noong 2010, quantitative easing or QE1 has been implemented in response to the financial crisis, Miranda. And of course, noong 2020, the US money supply grew by 3.8 trillion in 2020, equal to 20% of all the dollars ever created. Ito mga examples na ito can actually depreciate the value of dollar longer term. Kung babalikan natin, noong 1933, ang isang dolyar can actually buy 10 bottles of beer. Ngayon, it takes $19.91 to buy 10 bottles of beer. Noong 1953, ang isang dollar mo can buy 10 bags of pretzels. Ngayon, you need $9.69. Noong 1971, your $1 can give you 17 oranges. Ngayon, kailangan mo ng $6.39 para makabili ng 17 oranges. Ayun, Miranda, sana natulungan kita para may explain kung ano nga ba ang mga factors that can drive the depreciation of the US dollar. Ito rin ay pwede mong gamitin to understand kung bakit lumiliit naman ang presyo ng Philippines peso over time in the many years that have passed. Maraming salamat nga pala sa mga nag-comment sa ating video ng Ethereum Shanghai Upgrade Explained, kay Rude May, kay Avery Lucky Girl, Bitcoin and Cryptocurrency, Adrian Castro, Nana Kawaguchi, kay Kish, kay Kuya Tom, and of course kay Mac Rafael. Maraming salamat, Miranda, and I love you 3000.
Subscribe, like, follow, and share. Sige na please, Miranda.